Hello everybody. I have you propped up on a cocoa box, leaning against some beans for the best angle. Now I just want to bring you along kind of for a very quick recipe today. The reason why is because I want to make some banana pudding. It's February and I just want something light and kind of springy feeling. So I went to a go-to cookbook, Southern Sideboards, from years ago in Mississippi. This is the Junior League of Jackson, Mississippi. And this is the cookbook that had been out for a while when I was married, and my mother gave it to me. And I looked up their banana pudding recipe. There was only one, and next to it I had written, very good. So I will, I'll hold this here for just a second so you can see the recipe, and then I'll take a still shot and maybe put it at the end or something. I hate to type out the whole thing in the description. So maybe if I put a shot of it at the end, you can pause the video and write it down if you want it. The thing that's different about this one, I'm using real whipping cream. I'm going to get my husband to whip that up. And I'm using, for my eggs, it has 3 eggs separated. I'm going to use my little pullet eggs. So I'll probably use 5, maybe. It calls for ladyfingers or angel food instead of vanilla wafers. And I think that might be the thing that really makes it good. Some ground nutmeg and vanilla pudding and pie mix. Now, I did get the cooked kind, not the instant kind. I think that makes a difference. So I'm going to give this a shot and bring you along at some various stages so you can see what's happening. But the first thing I have to do before I do the pudding is I have to make the angel food. And I did get a mix for that. Let me show you. I'm using this from the grocery store. It's the only one they had. If I made angel food cake from scratch, I would have to use so many egg whites and have so many egg yolks left over. And I just think that's kind of a waste. So, because I don't know what to do with a dozen egg yolks, really. So I'm going to make it from scratch. It's just the mix plus water. Well, my cake batter is wonderful and glistening. And I'm going to pour it into this. Now, this is a bundt cake pan. Nice full-size bundt cake pan, non-stick. And I'm going to tell you a little story about this pan. Now, it was a wedding gift over 30 years ago. And when I got married, I was working at my church office. I was a secretary in one of the offices. And so I got to know a lot of the folks that came in. And one lady that came in, her name was Connie. She was older than me and married. I was in my 20s. She was probably in her 30s, maybe pushing 40. And married and had young children. And so she told me the story, which I loved, about how she snagged her husband. They were both living in an apartment building. She was upstairs from him. And she liked him, but he was shy and he wasn't going to ask her out. And Connie was a hilarious, tall, very pretty woman with a great sense of humor and not real shy, I don't think. So anyway, she decided she would lure him with food because she figured most men could be lured by food. So she would, the first time she got him to come upstairs and knock on her door, she decided to saute, what did she saute? Onions and bacon, or onions and garlic, or onions and something. It could have been just onions on the stove. And that's all she did. She just sauteed stuff on the stove, and it smelled really good. And within 5 minutes, knock, 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 he just said, "Hey, Connie, how are you doing today?" And she's like, "I'm fine." He said, "Oh, wow, something smells good in here." And of course, he stayed for dinner, and that was the beginning of their romance. So when I got married, she kind of wanted to enter into that, and she decided to get me a food-related item. So she bought me this bundt pan, and it served me well. I don't use it very often, maybe once a year, but it's perfect for an angel food cake. And remember, when you make angel food cake, you put it into an ungreased pan because you want the angel food cake to climb up here. It's very fluffy now, technically full of egg whites. And you want it to climb up the pan. And if the pan is slick and greased, it can't climb up. So you want to do that. You're going to put it on the bottom rack in the oven. Since this is a non-stick pan, it tells me, the mix tells me to put it at 325. So I'm going to stick it in there, and then I'm going to let it cool. You know, you turn it upside down when it comes out and put it on top of the bottle so it can kind of descend and stay out and not fall in on itself. All right, here we go. The angel food cake turned out really well. It rose, it was huge at first, and I turned it upside down on a bottle, and it's all the way cool now. That's probably more cake than I need. I'm going to be serving this in this casserole dish. So I may have a little bit left over, which is not a problem. Okay, in this blurry picture, I am constantly stirring rather quickly the egg yolks, which I had pullet eggs. It's supposed to be 3 egg yolks, but I put 5 pullet egg yolks, and 3 3/4 cup of milk, and 6.5 ounces of pudding mixture, cooked pudding mixture, and then a teaspoon of vanilla. And you know, the packages of pudding were not the right size, and so I had to kind of make do. I should have mixed this when it was cold. The instructions were not quite clear, so I mixed it over top of a medium heat, and then realized I needed to bring it to a full boil while stirring it. But I think it's going to work fine. And then after that, I will take it off the heat and let it cool completely before I pour it over top of my angel food cake. Oh, it's thickening. Boy, I just felt it slow down. Yeah. Yep, it's boiling. Okay, better turn you off. I got stuff to do. Now we're making the whipped cream. That's 1 cup of liquid whipped cream. And Adam's also working on grinding up some nutmeg for me. And there's 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract in the whipped cream also. Isn't that lovely? Now we're going to fold this into that lovely yellow pudding that's now all the way cooled down. People do like to see you cook on your channel. Even if you're not a very good cook. If I have a recipe, and if I have my brain turned on and I'm not in a hurry, then I do okay. Okay, now the next step is to spoon and smooth half of the pudding mixture over top of the cake in that pan. Then we're going to add a layer of thinly sliced bananas, and then we're going to sprinkle on some of the nutmeg without hurting yourself with a knife. So there's what it looks like with its first little bit of pudding. And there's the bananas. Now, when I say thinly cut, I don't mean paper thin, but just you don't want whopping big chunks of banana. This is a delicate dessert. And Adam has ground up this fresh nutmeg to a lovely powder, but it is fresh nutmeg. That should give it a wonderful taste. You know, I didn't look and see how much the recipe called for. Oh, there's too big of a chunk. We better take that out of there. We better go check. I think I may have already maxed out my nutmeg. That may be all we put in there. It said 1/4 teaspoon. Oh well. And as you would expect, there's the rest of the pudding mixture. That little noise is Adam making some coffee. Now I'm going to add a second layer of bananas. No more nutmeg, but I will be using those egg whites with some cream of tartar and, what is it, 1/3 cup of sugar to make a meringue at the very end. And if I get carried away and forget to videotape that, please forgive me. Now, I don't want you to think that this is going to stay here at the house and we're going to scarf it all down. Oh no, we're taking it to a dinner at church to share with friends. So hopefully they'll enjoy it, and I hope they eat it all because I'm not eating sweets anymore for my health. It's sad to say. I know it's terrible to make such a lovely dessert and not enjoy it, but there it is. But it was fun to make, wasn't it? Now, if you want to make a really good banana pudding, this might be it. Some of the more astute among you may have noticed that I failed to put in the other half of the cake before I spread the pudding on, the second layer of pudding. I realized this as I was beginning to put bananas on. I was like, oh, the cake. So I took those bananas off and I smushed the second layer of cake pieces down into the pudding. I hope it doesn't make a difference. I don't think it should. And so now I've got it all put together. I'll show it to you in just a second. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, covered with saran wrap, until we're ready to put the meringue on, just before we leave. And also bake off the meringue before we leave. And there is the finished, I almost said macaroni and cheese, banana pudding. Looking pretty good. The meringue turned out really well because Adam made it. And then we baked it for 8 minutes in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven. This is supposed to feed 8 people dessert, but those would be massive portions, so I'm hoping it'll feed more than that when we get to church. I am also making macaroni and cheese. There's my cheese sauce. There's my pasta. I'm going to bake it at church when I get there. All right, banana pudding extraordinaire. Hey everybody. Well, yesterday I decided to do something I haven't done in a while, which is make a batch of soap, because boy, it is still a little warm. That is crazy. This is the next morning. I made it yesterday afternoon. You do want to keep it warm as long as possible as it goes through its cooling process. You want that to happen slowly. So these are some old towels of mine, really junky towels. So here's my 3 blocks of soap. This one got a little bit of wet soap on the plastic. Anyway, and this also helps to hold the heat in. Let's see what this looks like. I made 3 different kinds. I divided my batch into 3. This one is lavender. Yeah. This one is tea tree, because I have 2 bars of tea tree left and just a little bit of lavender, probably a couple bars of lavender. Those are, you know, some absolute favorites. You always have to have those 2. This one I made for a friend because she came to me the other day and asked me if I had any soap that would be good for her dog. Now, I've made dog soap before. Years ago, I made some insect repellent pet shampoo, and then I thought, that's ridiculous because you're going to wash it off your dog. How's it going to repel insects once you wash it off? So I didn't make any more of that, but I think tea tree is not good for animals. Normally, I would recommend a tea tree soap for a person that had any kind of a skin condition or needed a soap that was a little bit more healthy, kind of medicinal for skin. So no tea tree. So I told her I would make some unscented soap, and she asked for it to have oatmeal in it. So I ground up the oatmeal really fine. Now, oatmeal you would think would get soft. It does get soft when it gets wet. It is very good for your skin. But when it's in soap, it can get pretty firm as an exfoliant. So it was ground up pretty finely. I hope that works well for her. I'm going to let these cool a little bit more, but here's what the oatmeal soap looks like. I don't put any colors in there. I try to keep my soap as natural as possible. So a little bit later this morning, I just want to make sure that it's dry enough to take out of there, because sometimes they can still be kind of soft on the corners if they're still warm. And you don't want to mess up those nice corners when you peel these off, as you've seen me do that before. Well, the soap bars are all cut, and here's a little picture of them. They're going to be curing for a while, and I haven't gone to the farmer's market since December, and we're about to go back in March, probably March 11th, because I don't know, maybe March 4th. So it's time to get to work. I've got this first batch of soap going. I'll probably need to make another batch too. And it's time to start painting again. So I've been doing a little painting. The first thing I had to do in my this is my basket I keep my cards in, the hand-painted cards that I sell. So first I had to take out all the Christmas cards that didn't sell. And the fall cards. The autumn cards are in here too, things that are seasonal. And really, flowers sell almost all year long, but it's time to start painting some spring flowers. So I've been doing that. Let me show you what I've done so far. Here's one. I love orangey salmon colored flowers. It's not a color I wear, but I love to look at it. And I did one like this before. It's very time consuming. I'm sorry about the plastic. It might give you a little reflection. It takes a long time to do that, but it's so much fun. And then like a little bow around the stems. But both of these two so far, you can tell, I'm sure, are ink and watercolor. So I've got black ink that outlines them, and I have quite a selection of micron pens of various sizes, real thin and thicker, and I go through those pretty fast. And then this is another one that also is pen with watercolor. I love this one. Now, they don't sell that fast, but I love these. This is one of my favorites. So I'll go ahead and paint them anyway. Oh, and oh, this one. I saw this on Facebook. Somebody shared that they had a little painting class with some people and did something like this. So I did my own little version. It's an envelope with a bunch of flowers. Isn't that sweet? I may do more of those. That was also very time consuming, but it was so much fun I didn't care. So might need more pops of red in there. No, this is pink, but not red. So anyway, there's 4 spring flowers, and then these kind of cards always sell here because we have so much big water around us with the Neuse River and the Atlantic Ocean and everything. So, and there's a little red sailboat in there. You see it? They love anything having to do with sailboats. I really like the piers, the old pilings going out into the water. So I did that this morning. Did that one this morning, this morning, and this one this morning. So I'd like to try on days when I can to do 3 cards a day, and then by March 4th, I should have a bit of a collection going. So anyway, it's always encouraging after I haven't painted for a while and I get back into it and they turn out okay. I'm like, okay, I didn't lose whatever talent I had, ability to do that. So soap is on the go, cards are on the go. Now I've got one more thing I want to share with you. I really enjoyed the one rug that I wove, the alpaca rug. And I do have some more alpaca, but I have a lot of wool now. And the cleaning of this white wool from the Shetland Cross, the farm I went to, is very involved. It takes a long time to clean it. And I'm wondering if I want to use some of this for rugs, because that is much less time consuming. You can take it outside and you can kind of flick it and skirt it and get the big VM out, and as well as you can, but you don't have to wash it till after you spin it to get the dirt out. So I'm thinking about that. But before I can weave anymore, I have to have some warp yarn. The cotton, that cotton, it's not twine, it's yarn, but it's very thin, and it's 8-4. I forget what the 8 stands for, but the 4 means it's a 4-ply. So I was like, oh, I think I'm going to have to order some, and it wasn't that expensive, but if I have to order something online, it takes me forever to actually do it because I don't want to do it. And then Adam said, oh, I think we might have some of that. I said, really? He said, yes. Remember, we had an elderly friend who lived nearby whose father was a weaver years and years ago, and she still had some weaving stuff of his for some reason. I don't remember her giving us this, but she did apparently, and it's a whole cone of 8-4 cotton yarn, precisely for warping up a weave to do rugs. So look at it. Oh my goodness. He's been using it a little bit in his sewing, and he also uses it when he trusses up a chicken, which he did this morning because he's going to grill a chicken for supper tonight. So I have it and I don't have to buy it. And the other thing I've been thinking about is what I want to wash my fiber with, even these rugs. And I thought, well, people use Power Scour is a product they buy. And so I looked at that and I thought about that. And then I remembered that I had bought this up at that wonderful yarn store in Virginia. And I think it's for delicate things, but you can use it people certainly do use it on wool, which is considered a delicate wash. So this, I'm not sure if this will take out lanolin, but it would certainly clean the fibers. So I may use this. So I don't have to buy power scour. I don't have to buy cotton yarn. So that was very encouraging to find that we already had those things. So more spinning will be in the future, and I may be taking these, once the weather is nice, I'll be taking these fleeces back outside and working on them a little bit more to get rid of those bad edges. From watching the natural spinner video when she skirted a fleece and evaluated a fleece that it was a Dorset sheet fleece that she had in Virginia, and that was a fascinating video. But I was just watching her pull out anything that wasn't just what she wanted, and I realized I need to be more picky and remove more of these fleeces than I did before. So that will be coming up as well.